This is David Avocado Wolfe, and I've got an event coming up with a group of doctors and some really amazing activists. And the focus of this event is really cool. Now, normally this event, and for all years previous, has been only for doctors and health professionals. But this particular time on March 30th, 2019, that Saturday, it's going to be open to 100 people to come in from the public. And it's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. So mark your calendar. If you're anywhere in the area, come on down to this event. You can meet many doctors in these fields. And this is very important. These are integrative doctors. This is the leading edge in medicine today, integrated approaches. And this is what we're going to be focusing on. It's pretty neat. I've got my event up here. So let me just read to you the focus here is cancer, ketosis, fasting and intermittent fasting, huge subject right now. Detoxification, of course, probably the most important thing we've got in a toxic world, and then the microbiome. And here to discuss this wonderful event, where we're going to be there for 4 days, but we're bringing in the public for that Saturday event, is my friend, Dr. Dan Pompa. Thanks, Dr. Pompa.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I can't wait to hear you. You have so many topics. I mean, you're a big believer in detoxification. You and I have, gone around and around about it, and we just basically the subject. But we're also going to be talking about it's this cancer, right? So, how do you bring a plant-based diet around, some subjects like ketosis? Man, you're the master at this. I can't wait to hear all this stuff.
It's going to be great. Vegan ketosis, I'll get into that whole angle. I did a long fast last year, 40 days. And, so I've had a lot of experience over the years with fasting. It's just amazing. You lose 20 pounds. You're on day 5. You're on it. Oh, awesome. No wonder you got such a big smile on your face.
Day 5. My ketones this morning were 6.9.
My God, good job. That's really tough. I've always worked my way into a fast. Real quick on your fast, did you work your way into it, or you just said stop?
Yeah, I actually have a book coming out, for the seminar, actually, and it's called Beyond Fasting. And really, I have a 7-week program, and it's how you work up to, you don't just run a marathon, right? You train for a marathon, right? If you just try to run a marathon, your results aren't going to be that good. And I doubt you'll finish. Likewise with a fast.
Good point. Excellent point.
So, I have a whole program where each week we kind of take you to the next level, and we get you extremely fat adapted. One of the things too about fasting is, most of the results come around day 4 and day 5. That's why we do typically at least a 5-day fast. But if you do this preparation ahead of time, and I'm going to be talking about this in the seminar, my diet variation, etc., then guess what? You get actually results from day 1. Results like autophagy, where your body eats all the bad cells. That's part of preventing cancer, obviously. And also you get this rise in stem cells very, earlier in the fast. And stem cells, that drives a lot of the healing that you get during fasting. So yeah, I prepare. We're going to teach you at the seminar how to prepare.
I've been for many years into the Russian research. I got a cool angle I'm going to get into actually at this seminar. I'll probably just give it a couple paragraphs, but I do want to touch on it with you because it's a cool area of research, and I thought you might want to dig into it. Fasting, the Russians found out that it does cause autophagy.
Autophagy. Some people see autophagy, and that's why you're because I always said autophagy. I'm dyslexic, so I say the words the way they are. But then I hear all the scientists are saying autophagy, so I had to catch up.
That's a rough word to say, but it's a key word because it is the main benefit of fasting is you eat up all the dead stuff, all the stuff that was undigested, all the stuff that's been lingering around in your liver was never able to process. You can catch up, it allows your body to catch up. But there's another angle that was really cool in the Russian research on this way back 20 years when I first looked at it, and that was deuterium. The accumulation of regular hydrogen, deuterium, and tritium. And I'm going to get into this at this weekend with the doctors down there in Nashville. And the Russians found this out. They found out that as you age, you accumulate more deuterium or heavy hydrogen, which has a different chemistry than regular hydrogen. And of course, the thing we're mostly made up of, according to our atomic theory, is hydrogen.
Yeah.
So disturbance in getting the wrong hydrogen is what is the main factor in aging. And so I'm going to get into some of that stuff. But the main thing they found out to help is fasting.
Yeah. I have a test to test for deuterium sitting over there, and I haven't done it yet.
Wow.
I got to spank myself into this action of doing it. It's like they sent me the metal tube, the whole thing. But I can't wait to hear that because, again, until I do the test, I won't be driven to dig deeper on the subject, you know, so I can't wait. But the little bit of research I did on it, I'm psyched, man, to hear your talk on that. I mean, this is very few people are talking about it, but you know, there is some science around this. And hydrogen, you know, I'm a huge fan. I mean, it's like molecular hydrogen is powerful. It's a matter of fact, I think we have a scientist talking about that at the seminar as well.
It's a hot topic right now. That's another thing about coming out to the event. Again, the date is Saturday, March 30th, 2019, and we'll put the links below, somewhere above or below. You're going to get links there. 100 people from the public coming in. We're going to have about 300 doctors and health professionals at the event. So it's normally an intensive for just that group, but opening it to the public just this time for that one day. First time ever.
Yeah, you know, we had to, you know, I mean, in the sense of it was the topic, and we have the top cancer alternative doctors around the country, the top scientists coming in, you know, top influencers like you and others. And, you know, we had to, we felt like, okay, we have to bring in the public in, you know, and it's like,
that's neat. I didn't know this, folks. That's why we're doing this interview. I just found this out, and I was like, whoa, this is going to be great, because I'm not doing that many public events this year, Dan. You know, I'm kind of in my own little world this year and working on other things. Yeah. And this one I was like, you know, because Warren said, you know, do you want to do this event? I was like, absolutely, anything for you, bro. So I was like, okay, I'll come down there. And then we kind of worked it out to be, you know, even better, way better than it was going to be with this Saturday being open to the public, because that allows you to get the info. And let's cover those topics again. Cancer, ketosis, fasting, intermittent fasting, one of the biggest subjects right now, detoxification, and the microbiome, that friendly bacteria shield that we should have. Many cases it's needs a little bit of work. And then we're going to get into that, like what you can do to build up that immunity. And when I say immunity, you know what I'm talking about, Dr. Pompa, right? It's like we don't want our immune system to be too pumped up. Then we have autoimmune conditions. Absolutely. But we don't want it to be lazy. So we got to be in that key zone. And I think actually for me, I'm going to get into that deeply. That's the subject in the world that I think I am the world leader on, is actually that right there, is how to never be sick ever again. Because I've done it and I know from experience. So some people have, you know, are great triathletes. Some people are great world record holders in whatever it is, but I've got a record no one's ever beat. And that is, I've made every single event in my entire career. I never called in sick in 25 years. I got a good streak going. So I know that one, and that's what I'm going to get into. And I don't know everything, but that one I know from experience.
That's awesome though. I mean, that's a reflection obviously of a healthy immune system. And that is really the cancer prevention, you know, message. I mean, it's not, you know, when you get cancer, what do you do? You know, it's like, oh my gosh. I mean, look, it's literally coming down to statistics now of 1 out of 2 people will get cancer, you know, over the age of 40. It's like, come on. I mean, it's
that's like, that is a shocking, really
that's what it is with males, right? Females, it's 1 out of 3. I mean, it's going to be 1 out of 2 in everybody. I mean, that's scary, man. It's like, so here's the thing. If you think what you're doing right now, you won't be one of those statistics, you're lying to yourself, right? I mean, so you're going to be sharing obviously how you did this, what you did. And it's a great message within it, because, you know, there's so much to plant-based diets around this theory, and you've mastered it, man. You have.
And another thing I'm going to get into, because, you know, I'm up here in Ontario right now, up here in Northern Ontario. So it's going to be minus 35, you know, in the next storm over here. It gets crazy cold, but most of the time of the year we're out hunting mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms, of which I have some here. Look at this. This is a Chaga mushroom. I'm going to talk about the medicinal mushrooms and their effect on your immune system and on cancer. That's going to be a big subject. In fact, this mushroom right here, Chaga, was introduced into the Western world through a very famous book, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, you know, the Russian laureate and, you know, amazing writer. He wrote about this in his book, The Cancer Ward, and that book made it into the Western world in 1969. I believe they published an English version of it, and it brought this, which has always been known in North America, but not popularized. It brought it to people's awareness. And I'm going to get into that research. That's going to be cool. And this is what I'm drinking every day. So we're going to get it to real, like, hey, what do you do every day? So I've got my medicinal mushroom tea made from that right there in here, right? So make it real practical.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you know what? I'm so glad to hear that, because, you know, mushrooms, literally, when you look at the research on them, it's vast. I mean, it's vast. And yet, here's you can answer this question for me, because what I've heard is, okay, mushrooms, we know the research is there. It's huge for the immune system. It even creates autophagy, what we say fasting creates. But here's the problem, is most of the stuff that we buy at Whole Foods or whatever, health foods, so I'm not picking on Whole Foods, but it doesn't have the qualities. Is that true?
That's true. And that's why you've got to seek out quality. And what I like to do is, like, in the beginning, look, you can get some high quality stuff at a Whole Foods, for example, like Paul Stamets's products. And, there's a line, Mushroom Sciences products. There's some great products you can get at health food stores. I wouldn't say when you get out of the health food store world, you get into kind of regular, drug stores, then the quality drops off precipitously. In fact, one product we tested, this is crazy. It actually had 1% Chaga in it. It was a Chaga product sold in regular retail mass market. And we tested it, had 1% in it. So you have to find a trustworthy company. But eventually, and what I'm trying to do with these events and what I've been doing for years and what I love to do is get out there and teach you how to do it yourself.
Yeah.
From nature. The way I learned it, it wasn't that hard, and I get people doing one step, which is, hey, go find your local Chaga, which it's around. If you live in New York State, New Jersey, if you're in the northern part of the world, if you're in Finland, Norway, if you're in Nashville, Tennessee, even there, this stuff grows. And you can find it. And you just start with one thing that It's just kind of like, one weed. You're like, okay, that's dandelion. I know what that one is. And then it just opens this door up. It's just it's a new alliance we're forging with our ecosystem.
Does it grow wild in most parts of the U.S.? I mean, you're in Canada right now. You found that in Canada.
I found this growing. There's 12 of them growing right around my house. Is like, it's so interesting because I wrote the book on that subject, and it just grew. I had no idea it was so really that abundant around, and that's how these things are. So yes, it grows in. There are reishi mushrooms that grow in Florida that are this big. I mean, massive reishi mushrooms in people's backyards. They have no idea what it is. One of them. It is the most well-studied herb in the history of science ever. There's more research on reishi mushroom in the world, in China and Asia and America and Europe, as you know, than anything else. And there it is, a free resource in Florida. And almost every state has either reishi or Chaga. In fact, every state does have reishi or Chaga. I can say that with confidence.
On the deuterium subject, is there studies showing that that is a cancer causer or leads to cancer? Have you read anything about that? And you're going to talk more.
I've talked to doctors about it. I talked to a doctor about it in LA last week. This is what he told me. He says, as soon as someone hits a number, and I think it's 158 parts per million deuterium in their body, they're in trouble. It might have been 154, but it's around there. And so they know if somebody's deuterium test comes back and they test it, say 155, they're in trouble. And so they're going to get a different kind of talk to than, say, if somebody tests as a 128. Generally, I think you start your life at about 120 and you work your way up. Then, where we are probably is about 128, somewhere around there. And then, from there you could get into danger zones at 154, maybe 158, somewhere in there. So that's what I know about it directly from the doctors themselves.
Yeah. And then, you're going to be talking more about that. And obviously solutions, how to test, right? And then solutions beyond it, because it's really new. Not many people are talking about it, but it seems like the science is solid, so much so that I'm like, okay, I'm going to test myself.
Yeah, I just got tested. So we're going to be able to compare notes. I just got tested about a week ago. And so I haven't got my results yet. I'll let you know when I get them, and we'll compare notes when we get to the event there in Memphis, which Nashville. By the way, we're going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. The two of us, I'm with Dr. Dan Pompa. I'm David Avocado Wolfe. I'm up here in the snow, braving it for the next basically almost 2 months. And we're under 1 meter or 2 of snow. It's going to be a wild time up here. Great time to fast, which Dr. Pompa, who's joining us, is on his 5th day of a water fast. And
he can my wife too.
And your wife. So, and he's going to teach us and teach you. You come to this event, he's going to teach you at the 7-week step course that you go through to get ready for that, because you can't just suddenly go, oh, we're going to just do a water fast tomorrow and go, for 5-10 days or whatever it's going to be. You got to build up these things.
Yeah.
Anyway, a little bit of detail. Check down here in the comments or up here in the description, and you will see details for this Saturday, which is the 30th, March 30th, 2019. Again, in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to open it to the public, 100 people coming in. This is normally an event just for doctors, 300 doctors and health professionals. But in this case, 100 people coming in from the public, and hopefully you're going to be one of them.
Yeah.
Dr. Pompa, keep going. It's so great to talk to you. I want, just for our people here, because you're 5 days into a fast, there's something amazing happening in your body right now. What are you feeling?
Yeah,
And give us some inspiration.
It's amazing. I said my ketones, you look at all the studies on the benefits of ketones, right? And you can get there, as we've already pointed out, you can get there from really it's low carb. And of course, you replace a lot of the calories with higher fat. That can be done vegan, vegetarian, meat. So a lot of people think it's just the high meat. It's actually not necessarily true, which again, it's a topic that is near and dear to your heart. But we read about all the benefits of ketones, but it's really these elevated ketones that fix the brain. I mean, since the early 1900s, they've used ketones to fix neurodegenerative diseases, not just seizure conditions, but many different diseases. Then we had the advent of different drugs like Neurontin and others, which where has it gotten us? Really nowhere. But the point is that ketones are now back into this, basically area of study. But here's the thing. It's not just being in a keto diet, because usually you're not getting the high enough ketones. But when you fast, you get these massive amounts of ketones. So I was 6.9 this morning, which, at those levels, you're healing your gut, you're healing your brain and your cells, turning off bad genes. I mean, literally genes that get triggered just from environmental toxins and stressors. You start really quickly turning off those genes. There's another benefit that we mentioned, around day 4, day 5, you get this massive amount of autophagy where the body's just getting rid of bad cells and debris like crazy. But the best part is day 5, and here I am, you get this massive rise in stem cells. In day 5, we seem to see this maximum rise. And, that is ultimately we heal. Look, the older, and David, you and I are, well, I'm in my 50s here. So the older we get, the less viable stem cells we have. And that means the healing time drops, right? That's why I don't want to ski off mountains or cliffs with my kids anymore, because if I get hurt, they're better in 2 days. God forbid I could be out for a month. But anyways, the older we get, we lose viable stem cells, which means our healing does in fact slow down. But when you fast, you pump those stem cells up for months, and healing occurs. So I believe, David, I know you believe the same thing. In our DNA, we're meant to fast. It's in our DNA. Times of famine, we're always there, right? Our bodies are designed to it. And when you don't do it, when you're always in a time of feast, that's a problem for health, for many health reasons. And I'm going to be talking about that in multiple ways of fast. You don't just have to do a water fast. We have one of the top scientists. You've probably heard of Prolone or the fasting mimicking diet.
Yes.
One of their top scientists coming in, talking about how this fasting mimicking diet, which basically it's similar to what I taught for years. It's a partial fast where you get your calories down to 500 to 1,000 for a day. Again, 5 days. But you have an opportunity to hear that. They just got, David, $44 million from the NIH to continue their studies on these fasting mimicking diets. That's how powerful it is. I mean, literally, their study on rats showed that it regenerated 5 of these a month. And this is oftentimes what we do with our patients. 5 of these a month, like 5 days, next month, 5 days. And again, this is the fasting mimicking diet. So you're actually eating in these 5 days, just reduced protein and reduced calories. But they showed that it regenerated the beta cells in the rats with type 1 diabetic rats. They're doing that study now in humans. And at the seminar, you're going to hear about these other studies that are coming out about this type of fasting. So I'm telling you,
for some of you who are new to this whole thing of intermittent fasting. For me, it's been 25 years ago. I started going to the Price Pottinger Nutrition Foundation in San Diego, California, and there was the great testimony of the ancients and about their fasting, and started getting into the Essene way and all the great fasting that was going on near the Dead Sea back in ancient times. And this was like, I was just so inspired by it. And it really, it set a seed that today, finally, it's coming to fruition in the sense of like, hey, a lot of people have their eyes on this thing now.
Yeah.
And what an exciting time to be in. But I'm jealous of you. You're 5 days into a water fast. That's a really good place.
And again, because I prepared, it's been effortless, you know.
Oh my God.
I usually get hungry day 2, right? Where I was
Yeah.
like, I get right around when you usually eat. It didn't even happen this time. My wife would say the same thing. I never got hungry. And most people, now I'm going to be honest with you, most people, I do this often, right? And like you, I intermittent fast daily, and I, probably 2 or 3 times a week, I'll just eat one meal, right? So I fast 23, 24 hours. But anyways, your body just gets used to this. But most people, it takes 3 days, and then day 4, they come out of their shell going, okay, I can keep going. I feel great, But if you really prepare, honestly, you feel that way day 2 or day 3. But most people don't prepare.
Thanks for that. That is so good. Everyone, that's great advice. And you're going to be getting a lot of that kind of advice at the event there in Nashville coming up March 30th. We're opening up to 100 people coming in from the public, and find the links above or below. Join us there in Nashville, March 30th, 2019. Nashville, Tennessee is one of the hottest places in America right now. Hot. I mean, good times. We're going to have a good time that Saturday night too. I can guarantee
y'all come, you get to meet David. Come on, man. Who doesn't want to meet David?
Come on.
All heart, this guy.
It's gonna be really good. So we'll see you there, and I'll get some time with you. By the way, I love being, I'm a people person, and I love being in the audience, and I know Dr. Pompa is as well. So if you want to track me down, I'll be floating around, and you can talk to me. And I think I'm gonna be speaking that day too, and that's gonna be a hot subject. I'm gonna get into detoxification, microbiome, but I'm also gonna get into these key areas of deuterium fasting, intermittent fasting, ketosis, vegan ketosis, the stuff that this event is really about. And then also things I've learned about cancer treatments. I worked with Dr. Hitt down in Tijuana for 10 years at the William Hitt Center. And you can just imagine what it takes for a westernized person who's not ever heard of alternatives to finally get to a clinic in Tijuana for their cancer, just what they've gone through. Wow. It was intense. And that was one of the biggest learnings there of all. So I'm going to share with you all that stuff too.
It's awesome, man.
It's going to be good. Anyway, thanks for joining us. I'll let you all go. Thanks, Dr. Pompa.
Yeah, man,
have a nice day.